massive power, man. Massive power out of the Gixxer here. Man, how does it ride? It rides like a dream, dude. They haven't really made them much better. This rides like a modern superbike. Oh, there it is. There it is. I told you guys what would happen. Maybe this is a clapped out Craigslist leader bike, guys. I'm sure we'll be able to fix that. No worries. Alrighty, folks. Welcome to the most squidliest of squid videos on Yammy Noob. Today is the first ride and impression of our new 2006 Suzuki K6 GSXR-1000, boy! Absolute squid missile of a bike this is. Carbon wheels, quick shifter, Olin shock. Just truly track spec squid missile. If you guys missed the video yesterday, this is our new modern classic giveaway. Yes, this is now a modern classic. I know it doesn't look like it. It's a 2006 though, quite a vintage, 16 years ago. And we're doing something special for this one. I know that a lot of you want to get entered to win this thing, and I want you to get entered to win as well. If you go over to the merch page, go to merch.yammynoob.co, get yourself a hat, a t-shirt, whatever you want. If you use the code GSXR, you will get yourself max entries for the month, which is a pretty sweet deal. So yeah, get yourself a hat, t-shirt, anything you want. Use the code GSXR. You'll max out your entries for the month, which I believe is 800 entries, if memory serves me correctly. But don't quote me on that. But if you want to see all of your entries and get entered to win and join our Discord and all that, yammynoob.co is always the best way to do it. Sign up on the website over there. It's as little as $5 a month. You can also register for free. You're definitely going to want to do that. It's a great thing to do. So, oh man, there's so much to say about this machine. This is Suzuki's, like, I have to put you guys back in the mid-2000s when this bike came out and why it was such a big deal. I did not live through that era. I was, 14 years old when 2006 was a thing? So I was not old enough to ride motorcycles. However, I have studied extensively on why this motorcycle was such a big deal. This was a pretty game-changing motorcycle, man. It made a crap ton of horsepower back then. It still makes a crap ton of horsepower today. It was the first kind of like small 1000. It's really like small and narrow, kind of a 600-sized 1000, which is really cool. It's like, for me, one of the last true analog kind of sport bikes as well, along with the 1098. You know, this has no TC, no ABS, no power modes. It's super bare bones, which makes it really, really exceptionally nice to ride, in my opinion. It's a really classic analog feel, and this bike in particular, with all these goodies and upgrades, is a really, really sweet ride. It's not a perfect bike by any means, because this is the 2006 model. There's actually quite a few things that we are going to change and modify and update on it. I've taken it up and down here, and I'm going to show you guys that it's doing some weird stuff in first and second gear when you get out and going. I have talked with a mechanic buddy of mine. We've checked the clutch. We've done a little bit of due diligence whenever we got this bike, but it's still acting a little strange, so it's something we have to look into. But it still goes like stink, still makes a great sound, and I think it is the comfort food of motorcycling because it is just such a known quantity. Let's swing a leg, shall we? What are the ergonomics like? Come on, folks. It's a mid-2000s superbike. It is uncompromising as hell. But it's not bad as a Fireblade, all right? That's something you guys got to know. Is the new crop of leader bikes, your R1s, S1000RRs, your Fireblades, they've gotten even crazier and more uncomfortable. This is relatively comfortable for a superbike. I've got a 32-inch inseam. I can flat foot this thing, slight bend in my legs. I feel very fortunate that I can flat foot just about every motorcycle we have here in the shop. If I flip the key here, you see beautiful analog tachometer, simple little speedometer. That's it. You got an oil thing, low gas, neutral, high beam, signals. That's all you need, bro. And I think this is a shift light, which is pretty awesome. Let's click it into neutral here so we can start the bike up, shall we? Put the rear brake on so we don't roll away. Flip this over here. Starts right to life. This bike is idling a little bit low, which I don't love. And that's something we need to address with the tune on it. And that's something we're going to check at some point. But it's sitting at about 1,000 RPM right now. And as you ride it and it warms up a little bit, it ends up sitting at like 600 RPM. And it just kind of dies, which really sucks, man. It's not fun to have your bike, you know, dying at red lights and doing weird stuff out of first gear like I told y'all. But let's go and get it out on the road. Start talking about what a weapon a mid-2000s superbike really is. Let's see if it'll let me pull out in first without doing the weird thing that it was doing. All right, we're good to go. I'm riding it very judiciously because, yeah, it's grinding out first gear. It's not because I am afraid of the power. Guys, I own a Turbo Hayabusa. Don't at me with that garbage. It says do not enter here, but I'm going to enter anyways. I'm just going to go ahead and turn because I'm on a Suzuki. Nobody can stop me, baby. I'm an unstoppable train. All right, taking off here in first gear. As you will notice right now, first gear, quick up into second. This bike is fitted with a quick shifter from our previous owner who had it. He was a bit of an intermediate track day bro, so it's got some fun mods on it. Key among them, a Motion Pro throttle over here with a slightly more aggressive cam. This is not as aggressive as the race cam I have on my Daytona, but it's still usable for the everyday riding. But I think it needs a little bit of lubing in the cables here, because if you get off the gas, it doesn't seem like it's fully engine braking. You have to really push it closed to actually get it to engine brake and do the thing. So, older bike, you gotta do some updates to it, some upgrades and stuff like that. But, man, how does it ride? It rides like a dream, dude. It's honestly kind of funny how bikes, like, yes, we've thrown a bunch of technology at them in the last couple of years. We've thrown a lot more horsepower at most of them, but the basic formula is here, and it has not changed very much over the last 15 years or so. Let's see if I can take off in first. All right, thank God. I'm telling you guys, it's gonna happen on this vlog where I get that weird crunchy thing in first gear. It's just part of the game here for this Gixxer. But yeah, man, like these bikes from like 2006 and onwards, they haven't really made them much better. This rides like a modern super bike. And it'll basically go around a racetrack, provided you have the skills, at about the same pace as a modern superbike. However, this, I think, is a great motorcycle because you actually have to have a modicum of skill to ride it at pace on a racetrack. Again, no ABS, no traction control, no power modes. Nothing is going to save you on this thing, making it a pretty deadly motorcycle for someone who doesn't have much experience. Like, we're in second gear, wick it up. Look at the force on this thing, man. Got power for days. That linear 998cc inline 4 producing 178 horsepower and 87 foot-pounds of torque. Note the torque figure, guys. 87 foot-pounds of torque. Manufacturers getting more and more horsepower all at the top end. The torque figures don't change, baby. We've kind of maxed out for torque on these bikes. And, you know, I bought this thing for about, I think, $8,000 or so. And that's because it has the carbon wheels. It was a really nice vintage. It was a good, nice, clean Suzuki, which is what we needed for our giveaway. But man, you can find GSXR-1000s, CBR-1000s, old R1s, $5-6 grand all day, dude. And that's a lot of go fast for not a lot of money. Which is why we always say the humble Craigslist leader bike is, you know, $1 per horsepower, probably the best choice you can make. It's just stunk and fast for what it is. It's wild that bikes, I mean, a liter bike in 1998 I think was making like about 140, and then like less than 10 years later they added 30 more horsepower. And it's a similar story nowadays too, you know, like they're adding so much power to these bikes, making them so unruly that they needed to add computers on board to allow you to still have fun with the thing. But let's see how she does in some corners, shall we? Gonna flick it through here. Street pace, of course. We're not at the track. Gonna wait a little bit to take this thing on the track until we sort out that weird gear problem that it has. And it's just incredibly composed and lightning fast. It's got a lot of power on tap. Really composed motorcycle. Feels really nice on the side of the tire. I just hate how you gotta completely close the throttle to get the engine braking going. That's a little sketchy. So as you guys will notice, I'm taking it very ginger with this thing because some of the control inputs are a little bit sketchy, and I'm not gonna lie, we need to actually go through and do a couple more basic maintenance items on this bike and make sure it's good to go. I imagine that that closed throttle situation on track wouldn't be a big deal since you're basically gonna be wide open all the time and then fully closed all the time, but it's not very confidence inspiring to get off the gas and to still move forward without any engine braking. This is the 1000cc bike. It should have a pretty good amount of engine braking in it. But yeah, I'm not super confident in the engine braking on this thing. You gotta literally close it with your hand. You can't just like let the throttle close. It's a bit of a weird feeling on the GSXR-1000 here, but I assume that's just because of an age thing. I don't think it's the platform itself that actually did this. Size-wise, this thing is so beautifully sized, man. I love the size on this GSXR-1000. Feels just like a little bit squatter than a 600. Around the knees as well, and the gas tank here, the shape of it, damn near perfect. I really like it. Really, really, really like the shape of this bike. It's really, really nice. Yeah, I can't wait to see how many keyboard Rossis tell me, oh, you're riding so slow around the twisties there. Yeah, catch you on the track, buddy. This bike is, we're still sorting it out. But yeah, balance here on the side of the tire, just beautiful. Let's flick it over this way. Yeah, you get off the gas, you don't get immediate, you know, engine braking. That's super weird. That's got to be something with the tune or the throttle here, because that's very, very, very much not confidence-inspiring to not slow the bike down when you need it to slow down. I think the big thing about the GSXR is, like I said, it's been basically the same since 2006. Suzuki themselves haven't even... Oh, there it goes. Just died. Isn't that nice? Told you guys. Definitely some maintenance items to be done on the GSXR. So yeah, it's like Suzuki hasn't even changed the frame or the bike itself very much. I mean, yeah, they've added like, I think like variable valve timing and some more stuff to make the engine just like ungodly powerful. But the basic bones of the GSXR is basically the same. They're like, oh, we made the best frame ever, and so we're basically done. It's pretty impressive. That's why motorcycling is so cool, in my opinion. You know, you can have bikes that are ostensibly quite old, and they can still, you know, perform really, really well, you know? Oh, there it is. There it is. I told you guys what would happen. Weird crunch from first gear. Maybe this is a clapped out Craigslist leader bike, guys. I'm sure we'll be able to fix that. No worries. But I think the riding experience here is pretty tremendous for the price and pretty amazing given the time period it came out. I had the same feeling when we rode the 1098. I was like, wow, this is such a pulled together motorcycle, and it feels amazing because it doesn't have all the nannies and doodads on it. It's a raw, nice experience to ride. And the GSXR is the same story, which I really, really like. You know, these mid-2000s leader bikes, and 600s for that matter, I view them as kind of like the comfort food of motorcycling. You know, because this is something that everybody knows. It's a known quantity. Japan, the big four, they printed out millions of these bikes. Millions. So the soundtrack is just quintessential motorcycling. I think it's about as ubiquitous as Harley's patented potato sound. This is, you know, just classic motorcycling. Question is, would I recommend it, and who would I recommend it to? I mean, that's tough. I think if you're a track day warrior kind of bro, mid-2000s leader bike is pretty awesome. It's hard to go wrong. It's still massively overpowered for you to actually learn stuff, but for the kind of money you'd spend on this thing and the kind of deals you can get for it, I mean, that's pretty freaking good, you know? But I really would caution everyone watching this video, do not jump in on this giveaway just on the off chance that you are a beginner rider. Please don't get this bike. Please, if you do get it, just sell it immediately. It's worth a good grip of money. It's got carbon fiber wheels on it, for God's sake. I just feel like this particular motorcycle is very sketch for a newer rider, even an intermediate level rider. This thing is a hairy handful. A big hairy meatball, shall we call it, huh? Now let's do this. We'll click it down here in a second. Get it on the bridge. Massive power, man. Massive power out of the GSXR here. Let's squeeze her a little bit, huh? Shall we? Slow way down because this thing does an engine brake, and that's kind of sketch. What a ridiculous bike. We gotta fix this. It's so sketch to ride because you get off the gas, and that brief moment between getting off the gas and on the brakes you're not feeling any stopping power. It's actually just still going at the same speed, and it feels like the throttle hasn't completely closed, which is not what you want when you get off the gas. And it's absolutely not ideal. I can't wait to get it out on track and actually feel what it can do, because poodling around on the street here with this bike is pretty sacrilegious in my opinion. There's so much more you can do with this motorcycle than just dick around on the street. I mean, you're using 5% of it on the street here, basically. Brakes feel great, though. We bled the brakes right before doing this first ride, and they feel really responsive, really great. Even, I mean, this master cylinder feels great. I mean, this thing's got plenty of stopping power. Pretty good initial bite, too. I mean, the guy that owned it was a previous track day warrior kind of bro, so it definitely works for its intended purposes of stopping and going very quickly. Alrighty, folks, jumping on the highway, the natural habitat for the GSXR-1000 squid. How's she gonna do? Will she keep up with traffic? Oh, I don't know. I'd like to hope so, right? Quick shifter, working real nice. Show you guys, we'll click it down in a second. Yeah, grab a gear, anyone you want. And it's cool that you can add that feature and technology to such an older bike, because the quick shifter is relatively, you know, it's kind of low tech if you actually think about it, because all it's doing is just interrupting the ignition signal and allowing the gear to slip. So you don't really need something super complicated to do that. You just have to be able to access a computer that can get the ignition signal and just slip it whenever it senses an impulse on the lever. It's really cool tech when you think about it. And it's a great way to allow for, you know, super fast seamless shifts up. Cruising here on the GSXR, the one thing I notice about this bike is it runs really cool. 183 degrees indicated here. That's not bad at all for a big bad leader bike like this. I remember the Fireblade sat at well above 200 basically all the time. And that's the trade-off you get whenever you're making so much more horsepower. You're getting a lot more power out of an engine. You're going to produce a lot more heat. And it's weird to say that because this thing still makes 178 horsepower. That's no slouch by any means. But compared to a Fireblade of today, that is quite a bit down on power. It's about 40 horsepower less than a Fireblade makes, roughly, you know? And that's, you know, you can feel it. Like, this thing feels torque-rich and fast, but it's not hyperspace lightning fast like the Fireblade. And I kind of prefer that. I don't really miss the power from the Fireblade, and this thing feels just as good to ride. The fundamentals, that is, you know, like, obviously I'm looking down at a way less sophisticated dash, but do I actually care? Not really. You know, I don't really care that I don't have a giant TFT dash and all the gadgets and gizmos. I don't really miss it as much, to be honest. It is cool that on the Fireblade you can adjust stuff like engine braking and throttle and anything else you want, because you have complete control over it, but it'll always feel kind of neutered and weird. So that's just something to keep in mind. But overall, I am very impressed with the K6 GSXR's street manners. Really not as bad as I thought it would be. It is definitely still a super bike. It's still pretty uncomfortable. You got to know what you're getting into with it. But that doesn't mean it's something that you can't enjoy on the daily. I think if you were kind of crazy, you could definitely ride this bike around on the daily if you really wanted to or needed to. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but doable. There are better, more fun, more interesting motorcycles to ride on the street than this thing, but it'll happily go down the street. Cruising right now here at about 60 miles an hour on this highway. You know, fourth gear, no problem. And look at this. Pulls like an animal. A lot of juice on tap, feels great. So guys, that's gonna wrap up my ride and impression of the K6 GSXR-1000. Remember, it's a giveaway motorcycle. I wanna make sure you guys don't miss it. Go to the merch page, get yourself max entries by buying anything for the next 48 hours when this video goes live, and make sure you don't miss it. We'll catch you all in the next one. See you later.
Keep watching.